on your side. This is News 3 at 5.
Good evening and thank you for trusting WRBL News 3. I'm Hannah James in for Teresa Whitaker and Phil Scoggins. We begin this evening keeping our eye on the forecast as more storms could be heading our way for Father's Day and next week. Meteorologist Cody Nickel joins us now with more.
That's right, Hannah. We're enjoying a break from the rain for this evening and somewhat of the day tomorrow, but we did have that system push through some of our southern counties earlier this morning, bringing some gusty winds, some severe weather out across parts of Mississippi, and that may start to move into parts of Alabama and may brush some of our Alabama counties, I should say, as we get late tonight. But overall, that chance of rain is very low, but we are going to be tracking more waves as we head into the weekend, primarily for your Sunday. So looking ahead, you see that system kind of stays more so in Alabama tonight, and then tomorrow we're going to have some organized convection driven by daytime heating. A few of these could be severe, but nothing really organized like we're going to be tracking for your Sunday. So we may have a system come in late into Sunday morning around 11, right just before midday, clipping some of our Alabama counties, and then a stronger system as we get late Sunday into Monday. This is what we're really concerned about as we're going to be seeing these, what we call an MCS. This is a mesoscale convective system, otherwise a thunderstorm complex moving through the region. This is what we're focused on as we get towards Sunday, but overall the next 3 days are still going to be quite unsettled. Temperatures though are going to be in the mid to upper 80s. Hannah?
All right, thank you so much, Cody. Turning now to Columbus crime. A Columbus teenager was facing life in prison in the 2022 shooting death of the man who was living with his mother. However, he pleaded guilty to lesser charges this morning. 17-year-old DeCavius Deshaun Anthony was sentenced to 26 years in prison for killing 44-year-old Jerry Watson Jr. in August of last year. Anthony was facing a felony murder charge, but a plea deal reduced that to voluntary manslaughter and a 20-year sentence. He also got 6 additional years on gun charges. Watson and Anthony had been in a dispute, and Watson was leaving the Village Square apartments on Boxwood Boulevard when he was shot in the head. The truck Watson was driving hit an apartment building and burst into flames. District Attorney Stacey Jackson handled the prosecution. Anthony was the 4th teenager facing murder charges this week to appear in front of Superior Court Judge John Martin for sentencing. In each case, Martin accepted the plea deal to lesser charges arranged by attorneys. Here's what he had to say from the bench.
This again goes to things that we see in this community almost every week, every weekend, and that we dealt with again yesterday, is the use of handguns is not a way to resolve any dispute, or that regardless of what may have happened prior to that between you and this gentleman and your mother or anybody, if he was leaving in the truck, had you simply let him leave, we wouldn't be here.
Though Anthony was 16 at the time of the shooting, Georgia law allows him to be tried as an adult. Judge Martin said the voluntary manslaughter plea was an appropriate outcome. Meanwhile, the Muskogee County Coroner's Office has released the identity of a person who was shot and killed last night in Columbus. Muskogee County Coroner Buddy Bryan identified the victim as 22-year-old Dayon Wade. He was pronounced dead on the scene on Wedgefield Court near Rice Street shortly before 10 last night. That's in the Oakland Park neighborhood. His body will be sent for an autopsy. Now, this is an ongoing investigation. Stay with WRBL on air and online as we work to gather more details. To other news now, a worldwide cyber attack has hit several U.S. government agencies and the university system of Georgia. A Russian criminal cyber group is being blamed. Now, senior officials are racing to limit the impact. CBS News correspondent Jared Hill is in New York with more on what we know about the attack and how the Biden administration is responding.
U.S. officials say a Russia-linked ransomware group called CLOP is responsible for a global cyber attack that has struck multiple U.S. agencies and NATO allies.
This ransomware group compromised a vulnerability in a widely used software.
That software is called MoveIt. Experts say it's a convenient way for governments and businesses to move large files. The cyber attack has affected the U.S. Department of Energy, multiple Johns Hopkins affiliated hospitals, the University System of Georgia, the Minnesota Department of Education, and British Airways. U.S. officials say the ransomware group has already started to release data to extort companies.
The adversaries have a chance to get 2 bites from the same apple, meaning first, they can put ransomware on your computer and say, you can never use your data again unless you pay us money. Then after you pay, they come back again and say, meanwhile, I have a copy of your data and I will release it unless you pay me again.
CBS News has confirmed that the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency is providing support to agencies targeted in this attack. Jared Hill, CBS News.
Back in Columbus now, the popular restaurant chain Tim Hortons just opened their doors in the Fountain City today. Cars were seen lined up outside of the Veterans Parkway location for their ribbon-cutting ceremony. The Columbus Chamber of Commerce was also in attendance. There was also a giveaway to the first 50 cars who ordered through the drive-thru this morning, as well as free samples and games.
I've been talking to guests all day in the drive-thru, in the line, waiting to come inside, and they're excited for so many reasons. You've got a lot of people who know the brand, either from the states up north in the U.S. We've got a bunch of people who used to live in Buffalo, used to live in Rochester, or even who used to be in Canada. So we've got kind of northern U.S. Original residents, we've got Canadians, all who are now people in Columbus.
This Tim Hortons location is the first one to open in Georgia. A Tim Hortons location is expected to open in the Atlanta metro area location over the next few months. Staying on the topic of eateries and delicacies, every summer the Harris County School District provides free breakfast and lunches to kids all summer long. This year, they have expanded their feeding program to include an additional site location.
Do you want white or chocolate?
For the rest of June, Harris County residents ages 0 to 18 can eat for free.
In today's world, there are so many food insecurities that are floating around, and we know that some of our students only are giving meals when they come to school each day.
In years past, the Harris County School District has offered free breakfast and lunches at Harris County Carver Middle School and Park Elementary School. This year, they are expanding to offer meals at Harris County High School as well.
School is out, obviously, so we want to ensure that our students have summer nutritional programs and summer feeding programs so that they don't go hungry during the summer.
Meals will be distributed Monday through Thursdays from 7:30 to 8 a.m. and lunches from 10 to noon. Since the COVID-19 pandemic, USDA guidelines require all meals, a part of the federally funded Seamless Summer Feeding Program, to be eaten on site.
We just want to make sure that the community helps us spread the word. If it's your family, if it's another family, or just word of mouth, please spread the word that we have these opportunities available, because we do not want any child, as best as we can, to go hungry if we can offer them free meals.
The only requirement to get a meal is to provide your first and last name. Again, breakfast will be provided from 7:30 to 8 a.m. and lunches from 10 a.m. to noon. All this information can also be seen on our website. That's WRBL.com. To consumer news now, new numbers show the cost of many goods are going up, which means you may be paying more for certain items at the grocery store compared to the same time last year. Atlanta Bureau Chief Archith Seshadri reports from our Georgia Capitol newsroom.
The Consumer Price Index report shows prices increased by 0.2% in May, but 4.4% over the last year in the South. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics says meat and egg prices did go down because of the bird flu virus being under control, but the cost of sugar, cocoa, flour, rice, spaghetti, bread, and chocolate chip cookies are higher.
A lot of the inflation in food is across the board. We've seen not only fresh produce, meat, but also some of the consumer packaged goods using inflation as a chance to gain some pricing power and move prices up on branded goods.
Analysts say the factors range from a combination of supply and demand issues plus weather-related incidents. One of the biggest increases, about 11%, is cereal, baked goods, non-alcoholic beverages, all compared to the same time in 2022. Data shows housing costs have gone up around 11% compared to the same time last year.
The other challenge for low-income households is rent. And so rent is still relatively high from an inflation perspective. It's about 9% year over year. Low-income households are most likely renting. The higher-income households are probably locked into a fixed mortgage, and so they're not feeling that pain nearly as much.
But the good news, analysts say, is that energy prices are down about 2% and decreased nearly 13% in the last year, which means you are paying less for electricity and natural gas. And if you're in the market for used cars, some good news, you'll be paying around 4% less than the same time 12 months ago. Reporting in Atlanta, Archit Seshadri, Atlanta Bureau Chief.
Meanwhile, some farmers cannot afford to own the land they use to grow their produce and livestock. White House correspondent Basil John reports on why this is keeping farmers out of the field and what Congress wants to do about it.
Is going to have to stop farming altogether.
For Susan Mitchell, finding farmland was an uphill battle. She spent nearly a decade bouncing from one leased plot of land to another.
It was incredibly challenging to find something that was affordable for me as a full-time working farmer.
And she's not alone. Mitchell says many farmers struggle to buy their own land, either because there isn't any available or it's too expensive.
There are fewer farmers now than there have ever been. So the population, nationwide keeps decreasing.
To help, some lawmakers are backing bipartisan legislation to help make farmland more affordable, especially for young or underserved farmers.
Number one, make sure we actually have food production in this country. And number two, but also give people like Susan an opportunity to pursue their dreams.
Connecticut Democratic Congressman Joe Courtney says the bill enables the USDA to provide closing costs and down payment assistance for new farmers and funds to cover the cost of some farmland improvements. Sales between retiring farmers and the next generation will be prioritized.
For a lot of people who really, want to go out and grow crops or milk cows or, you name it, they're really not land acquisition experts.
Courtney worries without action like this, the country could lose the next generation of farmers. Reporting in Washington, I'm Basil John.
As we head into the break, we want to thank you again for trusting WRBL News 3. We'll be back in 2 minutes.